The New York Giants wasted little time in free agency addressing one of their biggest needs at cornerback. They went out and they signed former New Orleans Saint Paulson Adebo, a true man cover cornerback, comfortable in press, excellent eyes, and a harassing nature, understands how to see through route concepts. I've watched a couple of his games so far, and I appreciated how he was used by the New Orleans Saints. Different coverages, different leverages, was dropping back to play safety, inverted cover two type of stuff. I believe he has a diverse skill set. Doesn't mean that he is perfect, but if you needed a harassing guy, somebody who was going to punch through the catch point and get into your hip pocket and not allow you to breathe, that is Paulson Adebo. And he signed to a 3-year, $54 million contract with $36 million guaranteed at 25 years old, coming off of a broken femur, so a broken leg. Doesn't look like the Giants really got a discount with this price, but it's still a fair price for a cornerback who is 25 years old with this much upside. If we look at the cornerback market, this puts him just underneath Jalen Johnson of the Chicago Bears, who earned that, I believe, last year. He's one of the better young cornerbacks in the league. So it's within the market range. It's not necessarily a huge overpay for what Paulson Adebo can be, given his ball production. And we're going to get into some more stats here in just a bit. I'm going to run the tape. Let's enjoy the highlights of Paulson Adebo with a lot of these PBUs and some of these interceptions. And then we'll get into some of the reasons why we need to see a little bit more from him to ensure that the defense is solidified. Let's roll it. Paulson Adebo allowed a sub 60% catch rate in each of the last 2 seasons. Now, he only played 7 games last year before breaking his femur against the Denver Broncos. But the 6'1", 192-pounder is a man coverage phenom who is sticky. And you're going to see that all throughout a lot of these clips. Now, the one you just watched is more of a receiver falling down, but you'll see what I'm talking about exactly. That doesn't mean he is always on point or that his technique is great. And that's something that I have somewhat of a problem with. We'll see later on. He likes to open his hips early. Now he's fluid enough to recover. He has that burst to recover as well, which I love when he wants to work back through the catch point. You just saw him intercept this pass against Mike Evans in trail with cloud over the top. He's able to undercut this pass because he just has that type of explosiveness and that type of gear to him. Now, the leverage he was executing there allowed for Mike Evans to release in that direction. That was planned. It's one of the things I was mentioning at the top of this program, or whatever we're going to call it, is that he did execute a bunch of different leverages. You're seeing it right here. Outside leverage, able to work back and undercut while keeping up with the stem of the wide receiver. Again, adaptive, very quick-footed is another thing that I absolutely love about him, and loose in his lower half. Got them loose hips. Want to see somebody who can open and close, as you just saw right there, the click and close ability, different type of close that I'm referencing right now, but he can also do that from depth, which plays into what Shane Bowen wants to do defensively, playing from depth, using your eyes, reading route concepts, and then attacking what the offense is attempting to do to you. Because this is a press man cornerback, but through the tape I have seen, he can play off. And again, 25 years old, and he has the processing and the mental skills to be able to quickly react. Oh, geez, did you see that guard just get taken out by the Saints on that one? If not, rewind, or you'll see it right here. It's a linebacker. Stunt, twist. Anyways, this is a player who can keep up with his target. Now, these are a bunch of 2023 clips. It was his full healthy season. This isn't necessarily someone who has injury problems, I wouldn't say, but he did break his femur last year. But last year, in 2024, before that, he was 3rd, according to Next Gen Stats, in target EPA. He was also 3rd in most PBUs prior to the broken femur. I believe it was 10. Now, one thing about him, as you can see throughout all these clips, he predominantly plays outside left cornerback. He doesn't align in the slot too often, and he really does not have a lot of snaps on the right side of the field as the right cornerback. And that dates back to college. He has a little bit, I think, his junior year of college, or maybe his sophomore year, where he played a decent amount of snaps on the right side, but he's predominantly been a left cornerback, and I'm interested to see if that's going to carry. And that does work right into the Giants' current personnel. Deonte Banks predominantly plays on the right side in both Wink Martindale and Shane Bowen's system. He did that. So that could be where the Giants are looking and where they're thinking. Just have the cornerbacks play their respective sides and where they're comfortable. But you can see the adjustment ability on the tape right here, the aggressiveness, attacking the catch point, playing through. All of these traits I appreciate. Now, there are aspects of his game. We're going to go over a couple of these plays here soon just to get into the nitty-gritty details, and then we're going to go through the aspects of his game that I think he needs a lot of help in. And some of it is he's not really an enforcer as a run defender, which I don't necessarily need in my corner. I like that. I don't necessarily need that. But what does concern me about him being a run defender is he goes for the strip a lot. Was that a coaching point? That's plausible. It's a possibility. But he is whiffing on tackles when he is doing this. And his missed tackle rate these last 2 years, they were not terrible. He has a 10.6% missed tackle rate through his career, but the most missed tackles he had was in 2021 as a rookie. Last year, he had a 10.3% with 6 missed tackles. Again, he didn't play all that much, but the previous year in 2023, which was his best season to date overall from a catch percentage standpoint, from getting your hands on football standpoint, he only missed 5 tackles, which was a 6.1% missed tackle rate. But he loses contain a decent amount, which is something that does concern me. I want a cornerback who knows exactly where he has to be and doesn't get baited too far inside. Now, was it this massive problem? Do I think he is a deficient run defender? Absolutely not. But it is something that if that happens once or twice in a game, that could just completely derail the entire game plan. So it's one of those things that the Giants and himself, they need to be cognizant of issues like that, where he loses the containment. But you could see all throughout these clips, these are good plays, good coverage, a bunch of different tasks that the Saints trusted Paulson Adebo to execute, and he did so well. Whether it be like the play we're watching right now, where we have Paulson Adebo down in the red zone against Deontay Johnson, press, hits the release, gets hands on. Now, I wouldn't say he always gets his head around, and you can see here, he kind of maybe uses the peripheral vision to get his head on it, but he's more so playing the receiver. And could this get him in trouble? It's quite possible, because if we look at Paulson Adebo and his history when it comes to being penalized, it's kind of wild. And that goes right into other negatives about his game. He was penalized 9 times just in 2024 through the 7 games, 9 times in 2023, 10 times in 2022, and 7 times in 2021. So 35 penalties for Paulson Adebo. It's a lot. He gets grabby. He wants to be aggressive. And I appreciate that in the cornerback for the team that I root for. I want my cornerback to have that chip on his shoulder, but you need to know when to turn it off. He toes the line. He toes the line tightly, and then he steps over the line. And that's exactly when we see those yellow flags, that yellow laundry hit the deck. And those are some of the things we just can't have consistently. And it's going to be our cornerback 1. He's getting paid like a cornerback 1. It's going to alleviate the pressure on Deontay Banks and Paulson Adebo. When Marcus Lattimore was out, he was the cornerback 1 often for the New Orleans Saints, because Lattimore had a ton of injuries with his hamstrings going back to his time with the New Orleans Saints. So it's going to be a step up for Paulson Adebo. You can see on that play, I love how he was able to carry. Now we'll go just to talk about this play just because it's on the screen. He gets brought inside as an apex because of the motion. He passes the crosser off, gets his eyes on Marcus Mariota, and understands that Mariota's trying to hit the play right behind him. So he sinks. And this is a controlled move. He is straddling this entire time. It's not easy to move like this. It's one of the reasons why I like Paulson Adebo, is his overall movement skills are up to snuff for a number 1 cornerback. Now you just need to refine the technique. You need to refine the discipline and aspects like that, and then ensure that he is going to be where he needs to be as a run defender. But all these types of movement skills and the ball tracking is what the Giants are going for. It's one of the reasons why they drafted Tyler Nubin last year. One of the reasons why they drafted him was he broke the record at Minnesota. Now that resulted in 0 interceptions for Tyler Nubin, but the Giants need to find ways to come up with defensive plays. It was just brutal last year watching this team. Darius Muasau gets a week 1 interception. And the Giants didn't have an interception until Trey Hawkins III came away with 1. And then I think they had like 2 more, maybe 3 more down the stretch of the season. They couldn't force interceptions last year. And Adebo will help them do that while securing more than likely number 1 responsibilities. Love plays like this that we just saw against Amon-Ra St. Brown. He is out leveraged on this play, motioned over. This is a play by Ben Johnson designed to get Amon-Ra St. Brown out on the sail type of concept towards the sidelines with momentum. Paulson Adebo is not in great position. That's not his fault. It's just a well-designed play by the Detroit Lions. You can see that release to the outside. You got the two outside releases. Adebo has to be aware of a cut back to the inside. He has this inside leverage a little bit over top. And once Amon-Ra St. Brown breaks it off, Adebo is able to flatten. He stays flat on the break. And that's something that I absolutely love. Stays flat on the break, and you can see him get to the near hip. Get to the near hip, play through, and just swat, baby. Just swat. Knock that ball away. Was that a perfect pass? Probably not. Was it a little bit inside? Maybe. But it was still a very catchable pass. And Adebo's recovery skills is what allowed him to play right through that catch point and earn that PBU. There's another one where he's just all over Jordan Addison. He's knocking these passes away. Again, this is from 2023. I'll bring up a couple 2024 ones. But we're rolling right now. Got another one in the red zone. Jordan Addison. Love this. Addison starts with that outside stem, right? He's coming from the number 2 receiver spot. He's going to release outward. You're going to get the underneath release by Jalen Naylor. Adebo is going to gain depth. Gains depth. Tight, low, controlled back pedal, something I appreciate about him. Opens his hips. And you're going to have Addison then break to the inside. And Adebo realizes this is a double move. Once Addison broke to the inside, Adebo opened his hips and played it like he was going to, but there was a safety there. Addison cuts it back to the outside, and Adebo is still in position at this point to play this outside break. And see how smooth he is, turning, getting his hips where he needs to be, right? Like, look at this hip orientation. Opens it, and then now his hips are directly, in 2 steps, his hips are directly pointed at where Jordan Addison's path is taking him. And then he plays right through. Again, stays flat, is able to utilize his short area quickness, and then that harassing nature to force the ball out of the clutches of Jordan Addison during his rookie season. That's a good throw by Kirk Cousins, too. Here, we get to see him read, attack. Love that. This is what we're going to see a little bit more of in Shane Bowen's system if everything is clicking right. Going to read, baby. Read. You got the 2 high safety look. And you have a 2-on-1 for Paulson Adebo at the bottom of the screen. Tyson Bagent takes too long. He tries to squeeze it in to the tight end, and Adebo was watching him the entire time. This is just a rookie mistake by Bagent. Small school stud, though. And Adebo comes away with it. And every time this dude, Adebo, gets his hands on the football, he is trying to do something with it, man. He is trying to do something with it. He had a hell of a game in 2023 against the Bears. Love this, too. You got the high-low concept. And Adebo gains enough depth. He is communicating with the safety. That's you, that's you, that's you. But once he sees Bagent commit, he's like, okay, I can help you out, too. That's a good throw by the kid, too. It's right where it needs to be. It's just Adebo ends up knocking it loose along with the safety. DJ Moore, got to secure it. Need more from you. How many times has that joke been made? And again, just playing right through. Adebo was all over this kid this game. I think this was a primetime game. I remember watching it. I want to say at least. Got them line of scrimmage skills. It's Michael Pittman Jr. Quick processing. Absolutely love it. I want to get to some 2024 plays after this one. Just shows that when he hits you, he's going for that football. He's trying to get forced fumbles. He's trying to rip it out. He's trying to ensure that you cannot secure the catch. I will not allow you to catch it. This is a good play against Calvin Ridley. When I talk about the control and the feet, this is kind of what I'm talking about, right? There's an outside release. You got press alignment. He gets a one-hand jam and he rides. He's on the hip. And then you see Calvin Ridley, a little stutter step right there. Stutter steps, and that gets Paulson Adebo to decelerate, to bring his momentum downward because he is afraid this is going to be a comeback route. But Calvin Ridley is an excellent route runner. So what does he do? He just takes it vertical. And then doesn't even miss a beat, Paulson Adebo. After sinking his hips like that and having to stutter step, and you can see how his body is a little awkward right now, he's able to just reaccelerate like it was nothing once he understands what Calvin Ridley is doing. And then he is able to get his eyes on the football, jump up, and then knock this away. Almost an interception. Great play. That's what I'm talking about. It's high throw. Now I'm trying to wonder, because this is 2023 tape, right? And I just saw this rep by 53. Is 53 Zach Bond? Because Zach Bond, before he became an all-pro, he was on the New Orleans Saints, right? And watch this move. He engages the tight end. The tackle attempts to get out after coming off of Cameron Jordan. And look how he dips 53 here and just makes the tackle whiff like crazy. That's an insanely flexible and an insanely difficult move for a lot of pass rushers to execute. Two-hand jam, get your eyes on it, interception against DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going to go to some 2024 film right after this. I'm just curious if that was Bond. It was Zach Bond. I just used the Google machine. Went over this play a little bit before. Baker Mayfield got really risky on this one. Inside leverage, Paulson Adebo forces Mike Evans to run around, and he just loops underneath, takes the trail technique with safety help over top, and comes away with that pick. That's a tough one for Baker. This is 2024 right here. INT. Try to take it to the house. Have Adebo off right here. Drake London motions from the 3 to the outside. Look at Adebo's feet the entire time. He's just stepping, he's controlled, and he's ready to pounce like a python. Controlled mover chest is square to Drake London this entire time, chest slightly over his toes. Once Drake London cuts that back, places that inside foot into the deck, it just goes right through the catch point. It's a very good play. And those are the reasons why I am excited for a player like Paulson Adebo with the New York Giants. That, and he has the ability to make plays like this in the red zone, get through, get your eyes on. Here he does. I don't think he does that as consistent as I would like to see. And this is a tough one. All by yourself against Devonta Smith. And look how fluid of a play this was. Because Devonta Smith wins outside, kind of, right? But now you have Paulson Adebo squeezing him towards the sideline. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. He's still in position to make a play if this is going to be a 9. And you see Paulson Adebo get his head around to see if the ball is coming in his direction. And then he feels Devonta Smith. He has enough awareness and enough of a positional advantage to understand where Smith is. Smith breaks back on a comeback. This is going to be a back shoulder. So Adebo can swiftly, quickly, and smoothly just get his hips flipped, get his feet underneath him, and then play back through the comeback route. That's an elite play by Paulson Adebo against one of the better technicians as a route runner. Trying to get a flag, but there was none. Here he just carries Mike Evans deep. It's supposed to be just a fade ball. It's a little bit overthrown. Inside leverage against a far hash Baker Mayfield in position after the motion. Just carry. And Mike Evans is the king of the push off. He pushed off so much in this game, dude. He pushed off so much in this game. Let's look at some of the things that need work when it comes to the new New York Giant Paulson Adebo. And here's one. Losing contain on the outside. You are the contained defender. This is a zone read against a mobile quarterback in Bo Nix. And Cortland Sutton just blocks down. Paulson Adebo has to realize at this point, this is going to be a run to the outside, and you allow yourself to get out leveraged by this fullback tight end, this F, whatever we want to call him. And now Bo Nix has a clear path to the outside. Now it only results in not a massive gain, but it's a first down. And we see plays like this happen not a decent amount, but once or twice during a game. You know, twice might be a lot, but if it happens once during a game, that's not a great look for your cornerback. You need to be in position, as I mentioned at the top. Nice counter run by the Buccaneers, out leveraged. Runs too far inside and then can't get back to the outside. This is a good run by Tucker, but gets behind Tristan Wirfs. Now you see Paulson Adebo right there. This guy blocking. He's like, oh, there's no one else outside of me. I am the forced defender. I am the contained defender. And then he can't get back into position to make the tackle. These are the types of things that make me a little worried about it. Got to be able to make that tackle. You can't allow a running back to get outside of you when you are a forced defender. And Adebo did it enough for me to take note. It wasn't just a once or twice type of thing. And cut some of this tape to show everybody. Here we see him one-on-one. It's not a run, but Britton Covey. Britton Covey is making you look foolish in space. It's an extra, 6-7 yards? Because you couldn't get outside of him to force him to your pursuing defenders. You can't box him. You're allowing him to get outside of you? Nah. Got to be better than that. Must be better than that. We're going to have, this is just a brutal stiff arm. Chris Godwin ate the lunch of Paulson Adebo in this game specifically. There's going to be, I think, another clip I included where Chris Godwin gets the best of him. Good play design, get Godwin out, unblocked defender, relegated as nothing because Baker's quick release. And now you have a one-on-one matchup between Chris Godwin, one of the more physical receivers in the game, and Paulson Adebo on the outside. Chris Godwin just Debos him, just throws him to the deck. That's tough. Not a great look. Again, Adebo can tackle. He can hit you and you will go down eventually. He's not an enforcing run defender, though. It's not his game. This is a cover cornerback, a good cover man coverage cornerback who I think can play zone, and that's not going to be an issue. But I want to see more than just this. I get it. Hey, you might be coached to go for the football, but I guarantee the coach isn't like, hey, go for the football, even if the guy's not going down. You know what I mean? Like, you got to tackle first. And I don't know if he expected the other guy to make a tackle because this isn't a great play by him either. I think that's Alontae Taylor. But you see how he just chops at the football. Chris Godwin, this is again. And this ends up being a touchdown. Like, this is inexcusable stuff. You can't have that happen. And I saw this happen a decent amount on tape from Paulson Adebo, where he's like, oh, I'm just going to go for it. If it's capped like it was, nothing happens. You got to secure the tackle. You got to get ball carriers down to the deck. That's simple. It's football 101. Got to be physical. And again, like, just goes for the football. Doesn't seem necessarily super eager to hit, right? And here's some of the grabbing issues we see a lot. I think Xavier Worthy sells this a little bit, but he does get his hands on Worthy. And Worthy's like 160 pounds, so he just falls down. This is an overthrow by Patrick Mahomes, but they get the flag. And if this was a one-off or if this happened, 3 times a year, I'd be like, it's just kind of like a weak call. But Adebo kind of has a reputation for being too physical. That's an issue. And you can see on this play, just wraps him up. Flag comes in. Look at the bottom of the screen. You'll see that his arm, Paulson Adebo's arm, is almost in a choke slam type of position against the wide receiver. So the grabbing right here against Quick Game, just grabs, gets too physical with the hip. Like, you got the jam, get pushed a little bit off the line of scrimmage, and now you're on the hip and you're trying to work back through, but you use the wide receiver's hip to propel yourself through the catch point. You can get called for that a decent amount in the NFL, especially if you have a reputation like Adebo does. It's one of the reasons why he's been flagged 35 times or whatever it was in his career. You see the flag get thrown in a decent amount. Now, I'm actually impressed with the movement of Paulson Adebo on this play, but it's just such a nasty and dirty route by Darnell Mooney. I hope Darnell Mooney goes to a team where he just has an elite situation, right? We saw it a little bit last year with Kirk Cousins before Kirk ended up being exhausted down the end of the season. But watch Darnell Mooney get motion to the outside, and you're going to have Adebo. Adebo's look controlled, feet tight, everything balanced. Love that. But then he opens his hips prematurely. But this is just such a good play by Darnell Mooney to snap that back to the outside, because once the hips of Paulson Adebo are open, you could see him kind of get his feet a little bit close together, and then he opens up and strides out like he's going to carry this vertical. And it's right at that time when Darnell Mooney snaps it back and gets to the sideline, and there is so much separation there. And this is just Darnell Mooney toying with Paulson Adebo. And the reason why I bring this up is I love the potential and the capability of Paulson Adebo's overall athletic ability and his movement skills. And if we take a look at his athletic ability right here, you can see that he ran one of the fastest 3 cones at his combine. This is a controlled mover, but the discipline and the propensity for him to open his hips a little bit early puts him out of position sometimes. And in a game that is so predicated on timing, that's going to lead to guys getting open like this. This is this was probably the worst example of it on tape, but you'll see all throughout this where he's opening his hips and getting himself out of position to where, like, this is an incomplete pass, but you got the 7, you got the sail concept. He sees this could go vertical. He starts carrying vertical, but you got to know that there's no one outside the numbers. That's your responsibility. When it comes to coverage, Paulson Adebo needs help with. Here against Deontay Johnson, gets completely turned around. He's on the line of scrimmage, right? You're in a, I wouldn't say you're like right up smelling his breath, but you're in a press alignment, and he opens up to the outside release, completely gets spun around. And it's like, what exactly is going on there as to why that's happening to the boundary side? Thought it was going to be an outside release, gets spun around. Now you have an easy first down on 2nd and 4. Now we're back to the top. Done with all the negatives, just show that there is some strength there too as he throws that Falcons wide receiver. So sometimes when you're aggressive and you have that type of mentality as a cornerback, it can work for you, especially when the receiver slips. But this was my brief Paulson Adebo breakdown. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I think he's a good football player. It's a great addition for the New York Giants secondary, especially since it doesn't seem like a lot of players are wanting to come to the New York Giants right now to get a 25-year-old at a premium position who didn't break the bank and is now paid in like the top 15 as a young player who is ascending and is well respected around the league. Not perfect by any means, but still someone who could take the ball away. I think it's a good get for the New York Giants, but there could be aspects where we absolutely love Paulson Adebo, where he's going to come away with a game-changing interception and we're celebrating, and there could be aspects where he blows a run assignment or he commits a massive DPI penalty that's going to make us want to rip our hair out. And that's might be the reality of this type of signing for the New York Giants. And we'll see how it works. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm Nick Falato signing off. Take care of each other and have a lovely day.